significant influence and presence in the Kenyan society, religion has the potential to play a crucial role in navigating the crisis and promoting peace, justice, and reconciliation. In the midst of political upheaval, some may wonder whether the religious leaders should take a clear stand on the issues at hand. Should the religious institutions publicly express their support for a particular political faction or leader for that matter, or should they maintain a more neutral stance to protect their credibility and avoid potential divisions among other members? This question raises important considerations for religion as it grapples with its role in the political landscape. On one hand, taking a clear stand can demonstrate the religious institutions' commitment to their values and principles, and can be seen as a form of advocating for justice, truth, and human rights. Religion, as a moral authority, can speak out against corruption, oppression, and violence, and call for accountability and transparency in the political sphere. On the other hand, maintaining credibility is also a crucial role for the religious institutions' effectiveness in influencing positive change. If religious institutions are perceived as biased or partisan, they may lose their moral authority and become embroiled in political conflicts, which can undermine their ability to serve as a unifying force in the midst of the crisis. Tonight, we host two political leaders, or rather public leaders, with a religious background to understand the role of religious institutions in the current political crisis in Kenya. Good evening.
Good evening.
You can introduce yourself. I'm pretty sure, apart from being the president and also being Assistant Secretary General, you can tell us who you are and the many hats before we actually get into the conversation.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers. My name is Ambassador Esther Waringa, currently the President of Public Service Governance, formerly presidential candidate or presidential aspirant in the Republic of Kenya. Was looking for the 5th presidency, but His Excellency Dr. William Ruto got it. And I've been also working with the United Nations on matter strategy. And actually, when I was exiting the UN after doing so much at the continental level, I was awarded the Distinguished African Leadership Woman Award for promoting good governance in the continent. And here we are, doing the same in our country, and until it is done in Kenya, we are not about to give up. Thank you for hosting us tonight.
Right. Assistant Secretary.
My name is Surendra Bhatia. I'm the National Assistant Joint Secretary of the Hindu Council of Kenya. That's my major responsibility. I work with many institutions, but today I sit here as a representative of the Hindu Council of Kenya.
Right. Tonight, let's take the gloves off and go bare knuckle and start this right there. Many people feel like many religious leaders have already taken a stand on either the political heavyweights. Let me start with you, Oringa, on this. What do you think? Where does this leave the country when religious leaders take a stand and take positions?
Yeah, I would say it's a very unfortunate situation because the religious sector must be able to define its roles very clearly in government. We shouldn't see a scenario where we are seeing some political leaders taking sides, whether in government or in opposition. What we expect to see is that religious leaders must be the uniting factors. The religious leaders must play that role of a common denominator between the two. And even as we visualize the bipartisan talks, we don't expect to see religious leaders taking sides, because these are the people who take the face of national cohesion.
Sorry to cut you short. Even as you mentioned, bipartisan talks,
yes.
Do you feel like religious leaders should be included? Also, another presidential candidate alongside you, Wahiga Mure, was saying, I believe yesterday, that it is wrong to have the bipartisan talks without involving the key players.
This is very true. I agree with that we can have the key players, like for example, the presidential candidates. I'm not against that while one is attempting to run for presidency of this country, is because you feel that you have the muscle, you have the brain, you have the capacity and capability to transform any country progressively, whether economically, socially, or politically. Therefore, the involvement of the presidential candidate is very, very important, or rather presidential aspirants. And number two, it is very, very important that we involve the religious leaders. But those religious leaders, either 2 or 3, or maybe 5, representing the 5 major religious institutions. We have the Hindu Council, we have the Islamic faith, we have the Christian faith, we have the Buddhist faith, we have the Sikhism. If we get at least the heads of these institutions involved in the bipartisan talks, then I believe that we will have all-inclusive talks that will be able to give non-political results in these talks. Therefore, there is great necessity to have the religious leaders involved, but those religious leaders who will probably see the light of the day and maybe be appointed to this bipartisan, to the process, must remain as much as possible very neutral. The integrity of the church, the integrity of the Hinduism, integrity of Sikhism, and integrity of the Islamic faith must be upheld by those leaders who will be appointed to the bipartisan talks team. And
speaking of matters integrity, people feel like back in the day, back in the the late President Moi's eras, that particular regime, the religious leaders were quite strong on their words, and they would call out the government during any wrongdoing. They were vocal. But right now, it is seemingly that religious leaders have gone soft. Your thoughts on that, Bhatia?
I feel every society has different kinds of leaders. You have political leaders, you have social leaders, you have religious leaders. And each one of them has a different role to play. And all of them, when complicated, when they combine together, they actually build up a happy family, a progressive society, and a great country. Now, these roles are very, very specific. I don't think we should interchange those roles. The religious leaders have a role to build up the society. They should do that. Should they play a role in the problems of the country? Yes. Every leader is a problem solver. And therefore, we have to be a part of the solution. But we have to be a part of the solution for the betterment of the country, rather than taking sides of any political party. We will play our role, we will engage with the society, we are here to build up a great country, but in the positive way, without creating any divisions anywhere.
Let me ask you this before I get to Waringa. During when the Maandamano, during the demonstrations, the Azimio anti-government protests were quite heated. Religious leaders from different religions came out and said, we will help you, we'll be on the forefront to actually have discussions. But then religious leaders said they didn't want discussions. Do you feel like religious leaders in this age are being boxed on the corner and said, nah, we don't really need your help at the moment? Religious leaders, or rather politicians, only go to the pulpit when they need religious leaders, but then when they're making important announcements and pronouncements, they do not involve the religious leaders.
Well, just going back to what you mentioned, our opinion is that no reason whatsoever is good enough to risk the future of this country, the happiness of our families, the prosperity of our societies. No reason is good enough. And therefore, the religious leaders have a duty to go back and speak to their people to say, let us not do anything which will put this great country to risk.
Right.
Are we in a corner where we are not playing our role? I don't really agree. We are playing our role in the right sphere. We are probably not exceeding our sphere, but we are there very active in the religious sector.
Right. Waringa, still on the same. We have seen numerous politicians going to the pulpits and make particular pronouncements. Either from the Kenya Kwanza side, they will reply to the other side, and also the Azimio will also go to the pulpits and make their own pronouncements. But many a time they rarely involve religious leaders when it comes to these particular announcements or pronouncements. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is very unfortunate, and that's why I want to really back up what my brother is saying, that the religious institutions must be able to define their roles very clearly. And when we talk about opening up our church platforms or our religious institutions platforms to the politicians, we must be able to weigh what product are they bringing on board? What kind of sentiments will they be giving to the congregants or to the people who are in that particular temple or in that particular place of worship? Therefore, the most important thing here is that the church must be left, or the church or the religious institution platform must be left to pray the divine law upon which it has been instituted. Otherwise, if we mix so much that our places of worship becomes platform of hate speech, becomes platform of negative political speeches and retrogressive and divisive speeches, then we are losing focus as religious institutions. So I think this evening we would like to call upon religious institutions and religious leadership to stand firm and get to know why have they been called to lead the people in a godly manner. Are they exercising the divine authority upon which they have been called to? Because if we had religious leaders and religious institutions playing their rightful role, I'm not sure that we'll be having the kind of crisis we are having in the country. But unfortunately, a leader stands in a religious institution platform and speaks negatively about probably another organ of government or maybe another organ of political arm, and this is on a platform of a religious institution. This must be discouraged by all standards, because if we continue allowing these people to come on the church or religious institution platform and show the country that we can divide the country from a religious platform, then where are the peacemakers?
Then, speaking of matters,
Yes.
You're calling upon other religious leaders. Will you say that basically the church is, or rather the clergy, and the religious leaders are at crossroads? Because one particular, let's say even in the Christianity,
Yes.
One particular church may pronounce this, but then the other will, be in support of it.
Yeah.
Will you say that it is at crossroads?
Yeah, and this calls upon the national clergy or the national religious institution. We have the Interreligious Council of Kenya. They must be able to define their role in terms of guiding the people who are under them, whether it is Islamic religion or Hindu religion or Sikhism religion. All these religions are represented in the Interfaith Council of Kenya. And this Council of Kenya, and especially right now, they must be able to define interventions or to put interventions forward that will be able to guide the people under them, the people that they are ruling, the people that they are leading, to be able to take very strategic and positive action towards whatever is happening in the country. So we would call upon the interfaith sector, because it's that brings all these religions together. What role are they playing? By the way, we need to hear them come strongly, that we as interfaith, we are guiding all our congregants, we are guiding all people, or at the temples, at the Islamic institution, that we are guiding them, that we don't want to hear hate speech from our congregants. We don't want to hear division. We don't want even to hear our people throwing stones or maybe doing some acts of violence that will bring retrogression to our economy and to our social sector in the country. Therefore, we have also another organ that I would like to talk about. We have the NCCK, the National Council of Churches of Kenya.
Indeed.
What strategic action? We actually don't want really to see people doing press conferences for no reason. Go to the church platforms, go to the temple platforms, go to the what do you call it? The Islamic
the mosque.
Yes, go to the mosque platform.
Okay.
Please talk to your people about the best way they can be able to handle issues pertaining to their country. And let me tell you, when we are guided of the heart, because holy books, both from the Hindu, from the Christian, from the Islamic, say that whatever comes from the heart is what you speak. Whatever you speak is what comes from the heart. So if these religious leaders are able to feed their flock with peace, with love, with cohesion, integration of the nation,
right.
I'm not sure we'll have anybody throwing stone or causing violence in this country. So the buck stops with these great leaders.
I was actually coming to that. Where does the buck stop later on? But then before we get to that, she speaks about matters feeding the congregants, matters peace and all that. So let's talk about the permanent solutions that we need to have as religious leaders. What are the permanent solutions that we really need to be having in this particular country as the voice of reason, so that after the next election cycle, we don't come back to this particular scenarios that we are in, the whole political pandemoniums. What kind of solutions should we be having, Bhatia?
So, Hindu Council of Kenya is totally a non-political body. So we do not get engaged. We do not engage in the political side of the. But in our mind, there are three things which are critical for any society. The first one is information sharing and education, so that the entire society is able to distinguish as to what is in the interest of the country and what is not. Second, building strong societies where the social leaders have a duty to ensure that the families and the social people are able to work as one team and one country. And finally, building strong institutions. At the end of the day, any governance, any political system, any governance is based on institutions.
Okay.
So if you are able to bring strong institutions, it would probably be able to bring in the peace and security which we need in our country.
Okay.
It is steps beyond the religious leaders only.
Do you feel like Kenyans right now have lost their faith in religious leaders?
Oh, to the contrary, you would be surprised to see that, the faith in the religion and the people who speak the word of God has increased, because at the end of the day, there is only one solver of all problems, and that is God. So no, I don't think they have lost their word. The religious leaders are still strong. We are a part of the IRCK, Inter-Religious Council of Kenya, and we play our role. The Hindu Council of Kenya plays a very responsible role in the IRCK. We sit on different committees. We are trying to work towards building stronger institutions and stronger societies, and we will always play that role going in the future also.
Okay. Waringa, you're one person who has quite interacted with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
So much.
And even as you were running, I remember, you writing to IBC and telling them, hold up, I need time to select my deputy, and all that. Let's talk about the trust that Kenya needs, or rather should have, in the electoral system in the country. One of the proposals, rather the concerns by Azimio la Umoja One Coalition, is that to have, electoral reforms, basically.
Yes.
And even as this particular bipartisan talks, it is going to form the backbone of the conversation, the electoral reforms in the country. What do you think about after 2027, or even as we head to 2027? Even right now, we don't have a chairperson and the commissioners. As we select this particular commissioners, as someone who has interacted with the electoral system, what kind of a chairperson and commissioners would you? I don't know if 2027 will be vying again as president, hopefully. But then, which kind of a chairperson would you be hoping to have?
Very well. First of all, I would like to propose one very drastic intervention or drastic electoral reforms that we are anticipating in the Republic of Kenya, because remember that in 2007-2008 the country went to war because of post-election violence where over 1,000 people died. And after that we had the National Accord and Reconciliation Act 2008. After that then we had the handshake. Yeah? Then after that now, here we are having the bipartisan talks. The question is, 2027, what are we looking into as a country? Again, a fourth intervention because of elections? Can we pause as a country and ask ourselves, don't we think that we need very drastic and lasting solutions to the electoral system in the Republic of Kenya? Initially, we had the Kivuitu Commission, and we said exactly what we are saying today, that the Kivuitu Commission never delivered. As much as the country was saying that we need free and fair elections, Kivuitu was sent home. Isaac Hassan came in. After the results, through Isaac Hassan's leadership at IBC, we said again, we never had fair and free elections. And again, we had Chebukati. Today, Chebukati, of course, his term has come to an end. But again, we are saying we need reforms in IBC because the commission has not delivered. It is kind of a repeated cycle. Kenya, we have so much to do, away from sitting and getting commissioners every now and then. Can we have once and for all very firm and long-lasting solutions to electoral reforms in the Republic of Kenya? In this regard, we are proposing drastic changes. What are these changes? Completely doing away with general elections. It's very possible that as a country, even I come to the Azimio proposals.
Briefly,
yes.
when you say we, you mean the public, you as the public service governance, by we?
Yes, this is a bill. This is a bill that we have proposed already.
And briefly, because we're really running out of time.
I'll be very brief. Okay. Actually, next week we shall be giving this bill to we shall be submitting this bill to the IBC for action, so that it can be subjected either to a referendum or it's a popular initiative. So if as a country we eliminate elections, then we will have all the time for development. We will have all the time for socio-economic growth in the country. And we will never fight again. We will remain as united country, like what Hindu Council are doing. They are doing it 24/7, not thinking about elections and all these things. And this is where we want to go. And the Republic of Kenya has been in the international domain for all wrong reasons. Remember ICC 2007, 2008. We don't want to go that way again. And already ICC is in the country. So shall we keep on going through this cycle? When shall we have sustainable development? And that's why we are saying Kenya without elections is the way to go. So we are coming with the Kenya Bila Uchaguzi referendum on the ground.
In 10 seconds, your last words in that particular camera as we wrap up.
Yeah, that Kenya, we must remain together. And when I was working at the United Nations and subjected to various countries in the continent, Kenya is highly regarded as a great nation that leads the continent. But unfortunately, our politics have brought a very stinking fragrance in the Republic of Kenya. Let's say, kwaheri to elections.
But your last words.
Kenya is a very rich country. We are a blessed country. We are blessed with all the resources which any country can have. We have probably one of the best human resources, hardworking and intelligent. We have all the minerals in this country. We have the natural parks. We have the beaches. We are an agricultural country. We have all the resources. And it is important for us now to focus on our strengths and build up a great country rather than look at smaller benefits. God has given us the resources. We are a blessed country. Let's take that forward.
Right. Esther Oringa, the President of the Public Service Governance, and Surendra Bhatia, the Assistant Secretary General of the Hindu Council. Thank you, lady. Thank you, gentlemen, for creating this particular time to have this particular conversations. Because of time, we really have to wrap it there. But then this right here will be, right. I'm being told that we do have, because it is quite a pertinent conversation I'll give you one particular minute, a minute each, because I've been given 2 minutes, a minute each before we actually wrap up this particular conversation. Because even as this week, will start. Tomorrow is a holiday, but then even as Tuesday begins, we'll be seeing, the wheels will start, to turn on these particular bipartisan talks. The political weather in this country will be heated as religious leaders. What do you expect in this particular bipartisan talks? A minute each. I'll start with you, Bati.
So, if you look at the history of Kenya and if you look at our reputation worldwide, we have always been treated as a very matured democracy, where we sit across the table and we find solutions to all our problems. In fact, we are taken as an example worldwide as how democracy should be running. Remember, we have never had a problem till a small problem occurred in 2007. We may define that as a small or a big problem, but till 2007 and even after that, we have never had a problem. We are the leaders as far as democratic principles are concerned. We can therefore find solutions to all our problems democratically, and we at Hindu Council support that.
All right. So what I want to get, as the Assistant Secretary General of the Hindu Council of Kenya, number one, do you feel like it is quite important to have a member of the Hindu Council of Kenya in that, or on that particular table, when these particular talks are ongoing? What kind of language and mood should we be expecting from this? Because before the olive branches were, the whole presence of the olive branches, being handed over, and a whole sign of we can actually talk. Before that, a number of people have been killed, rather have lost their lives due to the demonstrations. Property has been looted. It was quite a chaotic scene in the country. As a member of the Hindu Council of Kenya, what kind of talks, real talks, should we be expecting coming from that particular table?
What is in the interest of the country, not in the interest of anybody else? I mean, should we actually be putting our country to risk? Absolutely not. Can we play a role, or can the religious bodies play a role? The religious bodies are a voice of wisdom. If we do have a place on that table, we would be that voice of wisdom or voice of reason, whichever is there. We are ready to play a role as a responsible citizen, as a responsible religious body, and to do anything which is there for this great country.
Right. Oringa, yes. Back then, last year time like now, you're actively campaigning to be the next president, the fifth president. Also as a religious leader, do you feel like we are in the right track at the moment? Even as you come into what should we be expecting during the bipartisan talks, but then if we're going to actually involve more, I think it won't be a bipartisan, it will be maybe a multi-party, talks. But then what kind of talks should we be expecting from on that particular table, in the boardrooms?
Very well. We look forward to, number one, non-political talks, in terms of we shouldn't take political sides when discussing this very important national agenda. It shouldn't be about any individual. It shouldn't actually revolve around any political figure. It should be about what my friend has just said, the best interest of the nation. And as we discuss and as we talk, where is the people of Kenya? Where is Wanjiku? Where are the citizens right now who voted for these two particular leaders within the talks? This must be a priority, that the best interest of the people of Kenya must be at the center stage of the talks. That's not one. Number two, informed talks. Informed in terms of we should be within the set parameters upon which we'll be able to guide the results or the process which will give us results as anticipated by the people of Kenya. Because remember that Azimio has said one and again that if we don't get the right results, we are going back to the streets.
Okay.
So how are we going to ensure that the results that are coming out of this particular talks are geared towards national cohesion, integration, and actually addressing the things that have been put on the table towards bringing to an end demonstration.
Indeed.
Finally, we should have talks that will work towards strengthening our institutions, because formally we have seen individual talks geared towards a particular individual which never benefit our institutions. We have the public service, we have the ministries of government, we have the Defense Forces of Kenya, we have the DCI, we have the Directorate of Public Prosecutions. We would like these talks to be able, instead of giving power to individuals, we give power to institutions. And when institutions are strengthened, then we prosper as a nation, and I'm sure that we are going to get the best results possible. I cannot exit without saying that inclusivity in these talks is very important. As the saying goes, that a single entity cannot complete a task.
Indeed.
So it's incumbent upon those establishing the bipartisan team to ensure that at least each and every important agency of government or each and every important sector at least have a say in these talks, so that we get an all-inclusive result, and nobody will complain at the end of the journey until the Azimio will say, now we got it. No more demonstration. We are looking forward, and we are wishing you all the best, the team that's coming.
I think one particular question I would have raised later on, if we had time, is why Azimio and not also other particular, political parties for that matter. Our two minutes extra time are over. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Esther Waringa, the President of the Public Service Governance, and Surendra Bhatia, Assistant Secretary General of the Hindu Council of Kenya. Thank you very much